Hello and welcome to another BoP review. My name is Karan. We've got Z with me today. We're going to be joined by George in a second. He's just getting set up, hence the delay. I'm not always going to blame him, but this is on him this time. So another disappointing draw. I mean, it's not been a good January, let's be real. But I just think there's a bit of an overreaction going on right now. Obviously, transfer business has got people in their feelings as well, and a lot of I'm seeing a lot of weird takes, but it is what it is. But for now, I've got Z with me. So,
Yo,
how you doing?
bro, I'm good, man. I'm just about got over the result yesterday, man. I feel like people again have been a bit overreacting with the result. We've had a very good home form this season, and I've been quite happy to attend all the Arsenal games at the Emirates. So I feel like just a blip in our top four race. We're not out of the race, so I don't know where people have been saying, we're out of the top four, etc. There's 17 games to go. There's a long way to go. So I don't know. I'm okay. I'm over it right now. I feel like in the next 7 days are huge because we need to get reinforcements in because that's what will consolidate. Whether we can actually get the top four or not. But right now I'm okay. I'm over it. What about you, bro?
I don't know. I was over it about an hour or two after the game. Because the thing is, the major thing I would say is I feel like this January has only had 2 league games, and the thing for me this season, even before when we were talking about Carabao Cup with the Sunderland game and etc., the focus for me was the league. The FA Cup I think is more disappointing than this Carabao Cup loss, but in all, the main focus has to be top four, and we've drawn to Burnley. Okay, cool. Chelsea drew to Burnley. Tottenham drew to Southampton. Like, you're going to drop points. It's a top four race, not a title race. So I think we just need to take it from about a 10 to about a 3 or a 2 and realize that we are. I posted something today about the probability of and statistics and analysis of where we're predicted lineup, and all the metrics are saying we're going to be coming fourth already. We have the highest likelihood out of us, Manchester United and Tottenham, to come fourth. So I want everyone. I personally, I don't. Everyone has their own opinion. You can do what you want with and have your own opinions. But for me personally, I feel like it's a bit of an bit much, especially when I am going to keep saying it. We are still the favourites for top four. Of course, we can see what goes on in the rest of the window, but there he is.
Hello. Sorry,
He's
I'm late, gentlemen.
he's graced us with his presence. Back in the storage closet. How are you doing, George?
Absolutely busy day in clinic, but I'm back. So sorry I'm late, guys. Everyone in the comments too. Big up yourselves.
Yeah. Just trying to digest this performance.
It's been kind of the overreaction on the timeline has been a little bit mad. I think on one hand, what you got to admit is it's so disappointing, the manner of the performance, and it's really disappointing that we haven't had a chance to really get points on our rivals in a game that we should have and really could have. But at the same token, I feel like it's weird that we're drawing big projections, but this is Twitter. If I feel like every time we make this, I had a tweet, I think it was last week or something, where I basically said, as the season gets more real for fans whose expectations were like down here, they start drawing these definitive arguments like, if we beat them, this is going to guarantee X. And, it continues to be a case of consistency outside the top six. But there's enough in this game that, I'm ready to dissect, because I don't think there was a tactical issue. This, for me, was a lot more player specific. And it was tempo. That was just the name of the game in this match, where we didn't have any tempo. And as soon as we upped and injected pace, we saw what we could do to a team that, by the way, we'll do this to people. We'll sit in and frustrate. We'll try to make
Chelsea,
you battle.
a perfect example.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's Chelsea, but I mean, at the same token, mate, like I was more pissed at the application with the players, and you could even tell opposite sides of the half. Like, I'm sure we haven't gotten into that, but just like general opinions, I was tweeting throughout the game, way too effing slow. way
Yeah,
too
it
slow.
was.
There was no pace in our passing patterns, and you know what? I think the biggest frustration was that 10-minute period in the second half when Emile Smith Rowe decided to up some pace. Clearly went something after halftime, and we went through a period where there was 3 or 4 phenomenal chances that we really should have put away. Less I say about the balding number 9, the better.
Yeah.
But yeah, mate. Like it's more frustration more than anything because this game was there to be won. You know.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I find the performance like I want to differentiate between excuses and reasoning and whatever, and saying admitting it was a bad performance and just saying, look, we just weren't good enough on the day for the 3 points. We got one, and I just don't feel like you can say that it was a bad performance without it regressing into sort of okay, everything's done and we're out, everything's done, we're finished, the season's done. It's very strange.
Well, people are just picking apart performances that fit their narrative. You know what I mean? Like at this point, I would urge fans: can we just stop this like narrative of what side you're on and see what happens at this point? Like you're not convincing the other side, and the other side's not going to be with you on the other way. The one thing that I really need to look at is just the performances in general. And fundamentally, when you look at it, when we have a starting pivot and a starting back line, this team is more than good enough for top four. Just factually, they're able to handle the pressure, sustain pressure a lot better. And the big thing that I really took away for me is I hope we highlight Emile Smith Rowe's performance because for me, I kept saying in the game he was key. There was a tempo problem, and he would always be key to changing that tempo. But what he did to Tarkovsky, not many players do, and half fit as well. So for me, it really gets me excited for what an Emile Smith Rowe back in this team can really add because we've had an issue in midfield with tempo, especially with our 2 guys out that are the mainstays. But mate, I can't lie. Like when I had a look at the starting lineup, I was like, okay, game on. I hope that we have, the tempo coming up because I was happy with the lineup. I was happy that Emile got back in. I was kind of upset that I didn't get to see my galaxy brain idea of Ben White up in midfield. I knew that we would struggle, but for me, I never felt that there was an issue in the midfield for us. Which kind of rang true. There was no central presence. I never once felt that there was an issue in the midfield, but the problem was it was just so pedantic from the back. And it was, again, Gabriel had a poor game again for me. Things were dying in that left half space. I don't think Kieran had a great game either. Much of the same in that aspect from the previous performance, but it was just slow. Everything was slow. And it wasn't until people decided to up the tempo, even Martinelli, who we may have to have a conversation back there. The narcissism in me is going to pat his back about the left wing versus striker debates. But like, I had a look at that lineup, Curran, and I thought this is a good chance to get back on track. There was nothing wrong with the tactics that I was seeing there. I wasn't a big fan of the Lokonga Odegaard pivot, but Odegaard's been playing well. So it was almost a case of, it doesn't really matter because they don't really have a midfield. So let's just make sure that we shift properly. And really, I just wanted us to win the second balls because Jay Rodriguez is somebody that I think is really underrated. I really like Jay Rodriguez. And when I saw the fact that they had no Barnes, in addition to, McNeil probably coming back half fit, who, by the way, looked phenomenal. Again, he's Burnley's best player. But winning those second balls was going to be key, and it was going to be a dogfight, and we had to get the ball early to the wings because they would clog the center. But yeah, we just didn't do that. But I mean, lineup wise, I was excited. I don't know. What about you guys? Like, did you guys feel that there was a big tactical switch or tactical issue?
I mean, the main thing for me, I don't think it was a tactical as in a managerial issue, but it was just an issue on the pitches. We weren't switching play quick enough. And it just constantly, we were just leaving on one side, and like we were overloading. For example, the amount of times I saw the ball, especially in the second half, we would have a trio of Gabby, ESR, and Tierney all just clumped, and you see Bukayo in tons of space on the other side. We just weren't able to switch it. White was able to do that from right to left, but we never had that presence of mind or that thinking to just go, look, Bakayo, he's open, he's beating his man. Go and feed him. And there were things that annoyed me about this game. I think I wanted to hear your thoughts on this. I felt like our build up was very sort of like cautious and lethargic. I don't know if that rang true with you, but for me, it was very much a case of I just didn't think we performed to deserve to a 3 points level. As in, we didn't perform well enough to win that game. Obviously, the Lacazette chances the Lacazette chance they missed, Emile could have had that goal. Lots of different things happened in this game, but for me, I just feel like we dominated we dominated the possession, we dominated the game, but we didn't have that ability to convert that into shot creating actions, clear cut chances, big chances, and these kinds of things. So it lacked penetration and it lacked sort of a panache. I think that's a good word to sum it up.
I don't know, mate, because I felt we had a lot more control than in the reverse fixture at Turf Moor.
We did have a lot more control,
And
but the point I'm making is that I feel like control is one thing, but effectiveness and
penetration
efficiency and penetration, it just was lacking consistently throughout this game.
It was, and like I still think. Oh yeah, go ahead, Z. Go ahead, mate.
I was just going to say, look, I was at the game, and I was just, one thing that helps looking at the players and the way they behaved on the ball, off the ball, and one thing I noticed was every player was frustrated with each other. They weren't communicating with each other properly, and you could see, like for example, Odegaard would tell Ben White to make an overlapping run. You can see Lacazette having a go at Saka for not pressing. It just felt like overall. Maybe on the ball, yeah, they did what they could have done, but I feel like off the ball, just mentally, they were fatigued, and it showed on the pitch, and even for someone like ESR, for me, like ESR is someone that can obviously make some brilliant and penetrating runs off the ball, but he wasn't showing himself, like he wasn't coming for the ball enough, and I don't know what it was about that game because it's for me it's alien for ASR to perform like that, especially in those kind of games where he wants the ball. He I don't know, he just seemed like he doesn't want the ball. Apart from that 10-minute spell where he kind of like switched up the tempo, it was just like everybody was afraid to be on the ball. Gabriel had a few screwings from Ramsdale because he wasn't passing the ball enough. It's just, again, like I said, I feel like it's partially mentally fatigued. Could have had a huge problem on the game and the overall result.
Well, I think a big part is midfield thrust, guys. Like, I mean, even like when you look at what ESR's role is, even with Saka, right? Like you could say maybe they didn't show enough, but I don't think that was their role necessarily for them to show. I think a big thing was the pivot wasn't moving along with Gabriel. We really didn't have any progression. People weren't progressing the ball at pace. Rob was having difficulty on his side whenever he would push up. You'd see it given to Ben, and Ben would be looking for options. He'd see nothing. He'd have to return back to Ramsdale. By the time it got to Gabriel's feet, I feel that he wasn't releasing the ball quickly. For example, when you look at ESR's chance, one of the best things is Tierney receives, looks up, sends right away within 1 or 2 seconds. And boom, he's in behind in the space out wide. Every time we upped the tempo, like even in the first half, guys, like there was a very good little bit of passage of play. I think it was in like the 20th minute where Emile comes in, Lukunga evades a center tackle. They feed it into Lacazette, who then passes it through on the overlap with Emile Smith-Rowe, who has a really good chance to cut it back to Odegaard, and there's a deflected shot. There was periods of really nice combo play in that first half, but the problem was they were few and far between. They were very, very sparse, and we weren't able to sustain that. And for me, it just really came down to tempo, really, really simply, because we had the quality on the pitch, and in fact, we did cut them apart.
That's a better way of putting it, I think. I think tempo was the thing for me. I think we were lacking a joie de vivre. We're lacking like a very specific amount of like intensity in the game. I don't know if it felt that the players were just not like everything was like an extra touch or an extra sort of an extra passage, an extra pass that wasn't really needed. You could have taken that risk a bit earlier,
which is clunky, right? Like you expect that without your first choice midfield, like you're expecting that. But part of my frustration is when you walk into that game, look, the crowd atmosphere. I don't know, Z, mate, like you can confirm, but it seemed flat, like from the off. Like it wasn't just the players. I feel like the atmosphere in the crowd was flat.
Yeah, it was very tense, and you could see it. That kind of atmosphere was translating onto the players as well, and that's where the frustration was coming. And I don't know what it was. It just, even in the players' faces, they just all looked frustrated from minute one.
Yeah, I mean, Burnley do this, right? Like, they do niggly fouls, they try to stop, they take long throw-ins. Like, we know what they're about. The problem is, I think I don't really blame them because I know what they're about. I blame us because that's within our control. And in the first 8 minutes, if you guys remember, who was it out wide? Was it Dwight McNeil who had that shot that Ramsdale thought maybe was a cross? And he had a good save in the end, but it was this weird, iffy cross. And then right after that, on the corner, Ben Mee comes with like a well-worked training ground, corner, and that happened within 30 seconds of each other. And I was like, oh, come on, guys, like, can we pick it up, please? We've defended set pieces phenomenally all season. It's been one of the strengths of this Arsenal team. And I was worried because I even said in the last Liverpool review, we uncharacteristically didn't defend the set pieces well. And we kind of let them get some footholds into the game in terms of getting some confidence, sacrificing the middle. We didn't do our game, which is probably the most frustrating thing. But again, if you kind of look at some of those chances, again, in the first 15 to 20 minutes, right? Like, Lacazette comes deep. He was combining okay. But part of the issue is we were lacking that clinical edge. I mean, even when Lacazette would come deep, and I think he had a shot on target, it was wayward. He slices it, and he's in on goal. A Lacazette of 18, 19 buries that, or at least gets it on target. And then like 10 minutes later, everyone's combining beautifully in the middle of the park. Once again, we up the tempo. Lacazette comes deep. Odegaard is really smart to it, releases ESR, who kind of cuts back to Odegaard in the middle, who I think should do better in that first 20 minutes. Do you guys remember that? He was free kind of in the box from a cutback. And like, it's a smart save from Nick Pope, but I think Odegaard should go far post there, or at least strike through the ball, to go near post. But we had these like iffy moments where it was like, okay, like, you've shown your quality. You've shown you can really come through this team. Let's start to up the tempo. But the first half was very stop-start. I think I can't remember too many chances beyond basically the Lacazette slice and the Odegaard chance in the box that were really serious chances that we had. And the rest were like you said, Z, I think ESR in the first half too, he kind of looked unfit. Like, when he was coming to, there was even a point when he dropped and, Kieran had that yellow card challenge.
Yeah.
And that was Emile not giving him pace on the ball, right?
This is the thing. Like, for example, when in transition, when Emile gets the ball and unhits that ball, I think it was to Saka. I think because it was, or was it to Laka? Because we were in transition and Emile picks the ball just by the center half, the center circle, and he drives and he tried to pass it, and literally it's opening up a 3-on-2, and he just underhits the ball, and that's just not Emile. He's just not fit, and it's not an excuse to say someone's not fit. He just wasn't at the races today. I don't know if it was a performance thing or purely a fitness thing or a combination of the both, but he looked off it, and he had that good spell in the second half, but it was a case where the minute he moved left and we moved Gabby a bit more inside, I think the game kind of changed. The game, because you allowed basically Gabby to make those last ditch runs into the box, and Emile to really grab the ball and run, and he ran his socks off until he gasped basically in the last 5 minutes before he got caught.
But mate, it was honestly just about tempo. Like, I felt like even when Martinelli would receive out wide, who's been in an imperious form for me, he would stand the ball up, and he was thinking about stuff, what to do, and he wasn't attacking with the directness that we know that he can do, and it got to the point. I'm sure we'll get to the second half where we just started doing crosses into the box against a team that thrives on defending aerial balls, which for me was very, very poor by us. Like, we were abandoning the on the ball pressure. And the one thing that I can say of a Mikel Arteta team is we may do cutbacks, but it's always on the floor. we don't look for aerial balls. We don't have an aerial striker. We just don't do that. And it was very frustrating seeing us kind of transition to that.
Me and Tarkovsky just heading everything away. It was
yeah, and it was very frustrating because you could see that Saka had the beating of Peters pretty much most times. And even towards the end of the half, guys, don't you guys remember there was a period where I think Emile picks a loose ball, passes it to Odegaard in transition. It's like a 4-on-3, like in the very last minute or two.
I think it was literally just before the
just before half.
Just before the board goes up, I think.
Yeah. And Saka receives it in isolation, and it goes just wide. It's a good shot, but you expect the net to bulge. Like you know what I mean? Like you're in that box, you expect that to be kind of his finish, and so for me, it was like a lot of ifs in that first half. There was a lot of people understanding that people weren't at the races, but when you do that, you have to kind of ground yourself as a player. Like if I was a coach, what I would say, listen, everyone, basics. Control your first touch, make your first pass, follow your first pass. Like resort back to the basics if things aren't going well technically, which they aren't. Okay. For whatever reason, the whole team really, really lacked it. And partly why I was really frustrated was I knew that putting Ben kind of in the right back spot, for me, it would stop our central progression. It would be slow. If we had Lokonga and Odegaard against a kind of low block like that, we struggled. That's kind of what happened in the first half against Burnley at Turf Moor. Like if you guys remember back, it didn't change until we added Partey to add some more central progression, and then things opened up. You know what I mean? So without that thrust, I knew that it would be slow, but I didn't think it would be this slow.
Neither Gabriel or Holding are natural ball carriers up through possession into
and Gabriel's in a funk as well. Let's be real. Like Gabriel's in a funk.
I think he needs this break more than a lot of players do. He really needs this break.
One thing about Gabriel, though, I would say he was quite brave yesterday, because I think he was one of the players that was trying to make those passes between the lines, and I think he was trying to make things happen. And
he stepped into midfield.
Yeah, and for a player that we could say, I think he's very much low on confidence at this moment of time. I think he's taken that Man City red card to heart a little bit, and I think he's also seen a bit of some stuff on social media. Like he needs that break, but for sure, yesterday I would have to give him credit because he was brave and he was playing against a tough Burnley physical side, and I feel like he basically relishes those kind of games. But like you say, I think the break is very much needed to reset these batteries of these players.
Well, and mate, like again, I don't want to be a broken record, but I've said when you have a starting pivot, there is a very big difference to what this team can do, and in terms of how fluid things look. And you've got over 3 starting players missing. Now, do I use that as an excuse that it shouldn't be Burnley? Hell no. Like we should have beaten Burnley, especially with who they had out. But part of the frustration and fluidity, I kind of expected it. But my issue was, when you look at it, the back 5 haven't been on pace. Gabriel, it's a couple games in a row now. Ramsdale, who I thought was okay, not great, but the last 2 Liverpool games haven't been great. We haven't had Tommy back there. When you disrupt the back, when you disrupt your pivot, and we haven't had Xhaka Partey for how many games, guys, in this month? It was just Man City, wasn't it? Which was our best performance by far.
Right. The other thing is I feel like
it wasn't Man City. Sorry, Curran. Wasn't Man City the last time all back 6 were normal?
Correct.
Like it doesn't surprise me, but at the same token, this team has to get better when we don't have those guys. And for me, that stems down to some of the basics in terms of let's making sure that we up the tempo. For example, Martin Odegaard, somebody who's been in great form the last couple of months, I felt didn't help himself with speeding the play. And what was really frustrating was he got 1 or 2 chances in transition to do that. And when he did, we looked dangerous. Like it wasn't a case of us, attempting these things and failing. I would never question players for that. But if they don't do it, and when they do it, you're doing well, that's when I get frustrated. It wasn't just Martin. It was, Martinelli who was hanging stuff up. Even Bukayo, he had the beating of Peters, but there was times where he would just cut back. You wouldn't see anybody in the box. Like Z said, I think there was a lot of frustrated heads that were starting to roll in that first half because things weren't working technically. People were seeing static movement. No one wanted to take charge of the game. And that's what we really lack. And, I get really frustrated when I see Lacazette, who's your experienced player, not do that. Emile, I have a tough time doing because I know he's coming back from injury. But, if he was there, I would expect that. Bukayo, I would expect that. Martin, who's in the midfield, I would expect those are people on the ball, guys, that up tempo. If tempo is the issue, I don't necessarily look to Lokonga for tempo. That boy has great between the line passing, but I don't necessarily look at him to up the tempo. I look at Martin. He's got the technical ability to do it. I look at Emile to do that. I look at Bukayo to do that.
Let's just be a bit more, because I want to just go and quickly say something. So with Lokonga, when you talk about tempo, what increases the tempo? I'm talking about increasing balls into the final third, shorter, quicker passing, trying to get the ball moving, trying to up the speed of the play. I don't think I've ever seen Lokonga do that. Just to back up your point there, George, it's more Lokonga. Jesus, Lokonga is someone who I would very much expect to be a ball carrier, someone who can break the lines either with his passing or his running. But I've never seen him be that guy where you can go, okay, cool, we're going to take the ball and we're going to go just before zone 14, and I'm going to just hit balls around the area and just find passes again and again and again and again, and just try and prize open an opening. I've never seen him be that guy. So I feel like if we're talking about tempo, we're looking at players, as you mentioned, like an Ødegaard or an Emile or a Saka or even a Martinelli, because they will be direct. They will increase the speed of play and they'll increase the quantity of passes, ball, especially in Ødegaard's case. So it's not something I expect from Lokonga. But if we needed someone to do it, it was Ødegaard in this situation. And he, as well as he played this game, and he did have a very good game. I needed that final.
He had an okay game.
Unlocking.
I'll be honest. I don't even think that. I'm trying to look back, and to be fair, there is very minimal players that I think had a good game. Yeah. The closest one is Emile for that 10 minutes. For the lack of him showing, he was the most penetrative of anybody on the pitch in those 10 minutes. It was crazy. I mean, when you look back, I don't know if you guys are ready to move on to the second half, because a lot of the story is pretty much the same. But if you look at the timeline.
Before we do move to the second half, the red card incidents, what to talk about that? I mean, do we think it was a red card? I think the second one should be a sending off. I don't know what you guys think.
Westwood?
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's Arsenal, it's a red card. Facts. You look at Thomas Partey, that his entire red card. No, he got one for a really harsh yellow, and then the second one was a clear yellow card, right? What was the difference between Westwood with him going into the back of Bukayo and then an elbow to the face of Gabriel? Can anybody really defend it?
No.
I mean, it's a red card. Is that not what Partey got sent off for in the span of a couple minutes the game before? So you just want consistency at the end of the day.
It's just a reputation of Burnley. Apparently, Burnley have not got a red card in 120 games or something.
Yeah, it's mad.
So it's a bit of a mad one, because we're all kind of saying that Burnley is this physical team, but then when we're looking at how many red cards or yellow cards they've had, it's very minimal.
I'm pretty sure Arsenal have the most red cards, and
we do.
Like in Mikel Arteta's tenure, I think we have the most red cards, which is very funny because we're not physical enough, apparently. But look, I don't want. I'll be honest, Kern. I didn't want to spend too much time on it because I feel like.
No, I just wanted to mention it before we moved on.
I didn't want to use it as an excuse.
Because it's not an excuse. You're completely right, and I agree with that. It's not an excuse because
but it is a red.
It is a red.
It is
a
red.
I wanted to put it out there because it is an incident that we should discuss. But again, we didn't perform well enough for 3 points. That is the key takeaway here.
And that's the frustrating. And I can't wait to get in the second half. I don't think there's going to be too much tactical analysis with it, but I think there should be a discussion on midfield threes. you know, and the effectiveness of what we've been able to do
So
with
you're
that.
coming back to a 4-3-3. I love that.
Oh, I am coming back to collect my receipts, Curran, because people told me I was just biased. But anyways, I think going to the second half, yeah. And we still started off a little flat. Like if you guys remember, even Burnley, I think at the beginning of the half, it was very stop-start, but then McNeil had that really good chance inside the box. And Ramsdale, you could see just get up and kind of be really pissed, you know, at everything. He was very, very upset. And then I would say from like the 56th minute to that huge ESR chance, the possession, guys, was 90% to 10%. It was phenomenal. We came back and we were upping the tempo. And what was crazy is if we had upped the tempo for even another 10 more minutes, goal, like 100%.
Yeah,
The
100%.
first, like the first instance, right? Bakayo gets hacked and then, you know, Odegaard gets the free kick. That's the first chance, right? Then the second chance, a minute or two later, they've got the corner kick routine that, you know, Emil comes at the top of the box, which is beautiful. He does to keep it on target and through a line of bodies. And Nick Pope makes an excellent save, a phenomenal save. And then it culminates with then a couple minutes later, you've got the ESR chance where, you know, Tierney receives. He says, screw this. I'm going long. I'm going route one. Finds Emil, who does a beautiful job on Tarkovsky. And again, guys, not many people do that to Tarkovsky. Like it's a very, very, very good piece of play. And it's just Emil upping the tempo, changing the gears. He receives, gets him to bite a bit, and then changes in a flash. And Lacazette, guys, like I'm done with the guy. Like I don't know how many more times there's people on the timeline that want to say, let's give him an extension. And it's inexcusable for me, guys. You know, he himself had 2 1v1 chances essentially in this game to put us ahead, and he doesn't do it.
Again, you know, I feel like we're getting to the point where we're looking at. I feel like there's a difference. There's a dissonance between what happened. You know, when we had that run last season, that awful run, we had a questionable amount of chances being created. Now we're creating chances, we just can't put them away, and it's getting to a point where you're thinking, is it even about the striker? Is it even about the striker? Because if it was,
Kern, it's never been about the striker.
It's never been about the striker. But the narrative going around on social media is it's all about the striker. Like you're meant to create. If you have one player, right, and you funnel all your chances to that one player, your performance and your result lives or dies by that one player's result. You need multiple goal opportunity players. I don't know how to say that. Multiple players that can contribute to output. That's better.
Well, you want to share your spoils, right?
Share the spoils. Thank you.
And at the end of the day, it's kind of it's got to the point where it's like people are demanding this 30 goal a season striker when in fact the top teams don't use that. Let's just fix people that are meant to be in midfield to play properly, and the people that are midfielders to play, and then you will see the chances go on. I mean, if you look at Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey, how many games do you guys think that those two as a pair have met in the Premier League this season? In 20 Premier League games, how many times have we started both of those two?
At the same game. So so City.
Anybody in the comments know too? You guys can play along.
What was the question?
How many times has Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka started together in the Premier League?
7 this season.
Not this season. So
this season it's been 7. Yeah. And
how? Because we had 3. They had that. Granit had that massive layoff. How has it been 7?
No, he started 7.
Has he started 7? Has it been that many?
Yeah, and it started 7. And in that time, okay, when you start to look at it, how many goals do you guys think that we scored in 7 games?
A lot.
I think it's 15, isn't it?
So like 20
or something. Like
20.
That. Yeah.
On average, what does that mean? 20 and 7. That's on average 3 goals a game.
Yeah.
Now, I'm asking you guys, you push that towards a season. Does that sound like a team that really struggles to score? Doesn't to me.
No.
It's about sustaining pressure. And, I'm getting tired of people not understanding, I guess, what I mean. When a lot of people, between now and like even from September, I was really much a lone wolf and saying, we don't need this, guys. We don't need this. We need midfielders in their positions to sustain pressure. We need technicians up top, and we need somebody that can control transitions. That's what we need. And then the chances will come, and we will score goals. That's it. That's all we need. And a lot of people were pushing back, no, we need this superstar 9 to come deep and to do all those things. And I'm like, when you have positional play, you don't rely on one person. The whole fundamentals of positional play is ensuring that you have enough rotations in your squad that allow for chances to be shared. That is the fundamental part of positional play. And so the issues that I've got with all this, guys, is, we win more football matches with those starting pivot there. We all know this. The issue that I felt on Burnley wasn't a case of lacking quality necessarily. It was a case of application. And this is why I sympathize with a lot of fans that were frustrated on the Burnley match, because I agree. I think a lot of the people, if they had even 5 to 10% more application in their mind, we would have won that game personally. And I feel that they needed somebody to yell at them at halftime. That's why we got that shot on the arm where we literally got 90% possession. And I was going to go to Z. I was like, mate, you got your 70% possession. Like, by all accounts, you look at this game, it was domination. If that really crappy corner kick goal goes in, which is what happened at Turf Moor, the narrative goes from easy win as opposed to frustrated tie. Like,
no, even better. I one up you, George. It'll go to, we played bad, but we won, sign of champions. You know what I mean? That narrative.
Yeah.
The thing is, I feel like we've also performed like in this kind of way. For example, against Norwich earlier on, we played in a similar way. But the difference is, if we look at that bench, by the way, that Arsenal put out, that it's an appalling bench, and we didn't have any game changer apart from Nketiah coming on. And by the way, that Nketiah sub that when
spoke Emerson, volumes, eh?
It did, but also it kind of ruined the game, because after that we stopped creating. And I know Nketiah tried. I think he was very sharp when he came on, but it kind of just ruined the whole pattern of how we were playing and how we were building up and everything. Because I feel like we were on an upward trajectory when after.
Could we talk about that sub though just a little bit? Because guys, I thought that was double forced. Where in one sense it's 100% an ESR preconceived sub. I'll let you guys know from like an injury perspective, they were always going to take off ESR at 75th minute. No matter what was happening in the game, they couldn't give him 90. So that was completely fitness. But do you guys not think that was a very pointed sub from Mikel in terms of the board? Like, for me, I have this thing where you kind of did it in a case of kind of like the Kolasinac earlier.
Yeah, I do agree. But the thing is, I think if it is one of those, because the thing is, Kolasinac came on and then got terminated. So if it is the case, then hopefully, not because I don't like Eddie, but for his career, he needs to leave. Leave, Eddie. It's not because I don't like you. It's because I like you. It's because I think you can be a good player. You need to leave, get minutes, and revive your career, because there is a great player. We saw in preseason he was doing bits on the left wing. And I know it's preseason, but you do see ability, and he did have the ability to come through and look, I could do something for a team.
Well, I felt like, mate, what I felt like was that sub. You're right, mate. Like, it killed our momentum, but at the same token, that was also the time that we put the most crosses into the box at any point in any of the game. And I felt that sub signified the change, that even with these players, they abandon their principles. If you play enough of those backup players, they're not comfortable. They don't listen to the plan, which is keep the ball on the floor, and they send it into the box. I don't have any stats for you guys, but just from my eye, there was a clear determination to get the ball in the box. And I was thinking to myself, who the hell are you going to win it against? Ben Mee, who can't do anything but head the ball? Like, it didn't make any sense to me. I know that's not a thing that Mikel coaches, because that's not one of his fundamentals. So that was the case of, the players basically running out of options themselves. It was a day that basically culminated in them abandoning the principles. And I felt that it sent a message to the board, because it was like, even if I have these players, if not enough of them are fit, they can't play the way I want to play. And when I play the way I want to play, we're a top 4 team. You know what I mean? I don't think it was vindictive in any way, but that sub for me almost spoke volumes.
It's a bit of timing, isn't it? Like, if you look at the number of subs that we had, and we only brought in one sub, and considering, and those subs are, some of them are very highly rated, and he still doesn't bring them on. I think it is a message in a way, but it also goes to show how what state we are in, and we definitely need our players back, and plus we need some reinforcements ASAP.
Yeah, mate, it's frustrating because I saw it as a day to catch up to rivals. And I think maybe we can transition this conversation to what it means, because inevitably that's what a podcaster does, right? In true hypocrisy fashion. We're gonna sit here say that one game doesn't matter, and we're gonna talk about how it does. I think that we just got to chill on the narrative here for a second. Arsenal still have the best home, or the second best home record, only to Manchester City, including this game. So chill with your conclusions. When it does become 0-0, the one thing I will say is I'm frustrated not to take advantage of something that we could have done. In the same way I was very frustrated with United and Everton, games that, I don't think make or break top four, but games that I think we could have done better.
Secure top four. I feel like if we win both those games, I think we're out of sight. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that, but mate, like for me, I do look at like the individual performance. Where on a consistency level, this entire month we've played once with our back six that we know is our settled back six. I expected inconsistency. No, the trouble I have is like there was a couple games where individually the boys could have done better. They definitely deserved that. And look, like I'm not saying that the crossing into the box was bad, but what pissed me off was I felt that it was abandoning your principles. Where, look, I've seen it before with other teams, but we're not other teams. I don't want us to be other teams, and I don't think Mikel, even at his worst, and even at Pep's worst and Klopp's, the one thing that they do is they stick to their principles, even if the game is getting frustrating. Because Burnley have done this to tons of teams. You know what I mean? Even Everton did very well against Manchester City earlier on in the season. And it wasn't until really midway through the half where they were able to break them down with some really good combination play, right? Teams will do this to us. But I struggle to start saying that we can't create against a low block when a majority of your low block creators are out. Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka are massive. Ben White not being in the center is massive. When you're talking about tempo, guys, and 3 out of the 4 major centerpieces for your tempo control are out, I struggle to really...
Or relegated to a position where they're not going to be pivotal to your creation.
Yeah.
In case of what. No, I just want to quickly just touch on this top 4 thing, because I don't want to... I know it's a massive thing, and it's what we're fighting for this season. I don't want to go on ages, but I feel like this whole thing... Everyone's had saying we had a bad month. We have had a bad month. We got knocked out of the cups. It doesn't really impact our top 4 hopes. I mean, look, you have games every season. Like, I feel like a lot of people have forgotten or just put in the back of their minds what happened under early 2010s Wenger. I feel like people have just forgotten that. They just put it to the back of their minds, and they're just focused on the table now. What's the table saying? Oh, we're 7th, we're 6th. Okay, no, it's over. Or we're 3rd. Okay, let's put the fan cams up. Like, it's very much a case of you need to remember that top 4 is not a question of every game you play, you got to get the points. Otherwise, you're done. You don't have to get every single point. You want every single point. And every time that we drop points, like the title says, we are frustrated today. It's annoying to drop points. But
I think they're 2 different combos, Karen. People try to lump them together to make a narrative. They're very different combos.
That's why I was trying to say is that dropping points and being outside of the top 4 is not something that correlates. They're not one conversation.
When you do the latter, i.e. poor performances over a consistent period, I'm with you. I'll be upset, and then I'll say that's poor against the top 4. But in order to get top 4, you're not going to look back at one game, even if the points are separated by 1. We as fans do this because we think that there's a magic pill that will sit there and, fix everything, whether that's transfer related, by the way, whether that's, output related. We look for that magic pill. That's what we do. Why? Because we're short-termist. We're fans. We just want success. We don't even care about the performance. I'll be honest with you guys. Do you know how many times I saw people on the timeline that were basically saying, I don't care about the performance. I just want 3 points. And I was like, well, no, I care about the performance.
Yeah.
Because performance is what will dictate you winning that top 4. When I sit there and I have debates, Kern, with people about, variance, and, everyone's saying, well, Spurs and United aren't playing well, but they're winning. And I go, yeah, but guys, you were the poster boys. Arsenal FC were the poster boys for variance and high performance and high output, but not getting top four with Emery in his season, with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Lacazette, who, by the way, those two overperformed more than anybody. Okay. And when you look at that and we still didn't get top four, there was a reason for it. And so the biggest advice, lads, that I can do is essentially this. As the team exceeds your initial expectations, and I'm just assuming, I know there's some of you that were probably with us on top four, but we were a very small minority.
Okay. I'm still looking. I remember you asking before. I'm still looking for a fan channel that said we'd finish top four.
I'm still looking. Guys in the comments, maybe we're being rude. Is there another fan channel that said it? I didn't see one that said it with chest. But anyways, as the team exceeds your expectations, stop with the continued deadlines of must win or looking at your rivals' variance. That's just crazy talk. Don't look at that.
Every game. You know what annoys me the most is the every game is a cup final narrative. It's just not. It's really not. It's 3 points.
Every game has its own story, and there's a very big reason why, Wenger used to always say it's about the performance on the day. And in order to get top four, remember, don't look at your neighbor's lawn. Focus on what's in your control. And remember that consistency of outcome against teams outside the top six is the key. Now, if you have a trough, is that bad? I mean, it's frustrating. For sure.
It's annoying.
But you need to look at the trend line. If the trend line of those consistencies is positive, you're on your way. Now, that doesn't mean that you excuse the performance, we wipe it under the rug, because I think this entire podcast has been us slamming the tempo of this game, which is totally on the players. But if you're going to talk about top four, that's a separate conversation. That's us looking at perspective. And I think that's very different from the team did really poor on this day without their strong players.
Have you not seen the comment section where people are saying, how can you get top four if you can't beat Burnley? Again, that to me is just a very strawman argument, because Man City just drew with Southampton, who I know one of the poorest teams in the league. So what? Man City do not deserve to win the league. Again, every game, you go by in a game-by-game basis. Sometimes, the match can be affected by the referee. Sometimes the players might not be on form. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, we all know our win is 3 points, and that's what matters to us most. So I feel like people are kind of playing on this narrative that we're not a good enough team. Compared to last season, we're 5 points. We're 5 points ahead. I think we're at least 4 positions also ahead as well. We're in a good way. We've seen steady progress, and by the end of the season, if we do keep up the same consistency, we should reach 68 to 70 points, which should be good enough for top four. We'll see.
Yeah, mate. And like I said, I think it's a different pressure for this team to lead than it was chasing. That was something absolutely to look at. But when people are citing, can we look at a month? I would ask you, in this month of January, how much of our starting 11 was fit and available? Were Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey a part of those? I would worry about a month with 5 matches, 0 wins, and maybe 1 goal if our first team was there. I'm with you. I'm with everyone in the comments if that is the case. But fundamentally, it's not. That's not true. You're sitting there removing the context. And if you're going to do that in 2 or 3 weeks, when we get back into the top 4, it's going to look foolish. And then everyone's going to go back on the bandwagon. Oh my God, they were right. And you're going through cyclical cycles.
You know what's going to happen?
In terms of this. And that's why I kind of want to park it in a sense, because it's almost like you're only making sense based on your narrative and short-termism at that point. So for me, I really think that when you look at it, top 4 is just about those consistency of outcomes against the top 6. You're not going to be 100% in that. You're going to have peaks and troughs, just like in any graph, in any trend line. There are ups, there are downs. But if that is very positive on the whole, which we have been this season, that's the 1 loss against Burnley, doesn't really change that, then you're going to stand yourself in for a good top 4 challenge. And by the way, this next half of the season, how many tough away games do we have? Has anybody had a look at the context? There's not many. In the last, how many games do we have left, guys? 17? 18?
So let's just we'll go through it. So we've got Spurs away, I think Chelsea away. Are we counting Villa away as tough?
Yeah, you can count that as
West Ham. We've got West Ham away, Wolves away.
Sure.
maybe Newcastle away, but we usually win there. But like,
That's not tough.
you don't know how they're.
I think there's 30% of our games are
I'll
away.
tell you why. I'm going to put Newcastle there, because if it's the second to last game of the season, and if they're in the relegation fight, they're going to be a little bit more up for it. So look, let's my whole thing is there's a couple of things. So first of all, I just feel like people are forgetting that you have to be better than 15 teams, not 20, to get top 4. I mean,
It's a
19
very,
teams to get
Kurt,
top
you know
4.
what it is, mate? I had this argument with people on Twitter, and there's, I'm sure there's some people in the comment that probably, say, well, how are we going to compete with Man City? How are we doing with all our rivals? It's a very different conversation to compete for titles than it is to compete for top 4. It's very, very different.
It's extremely different.
And these things don't apply if you're talking about title-winning teams. But we're not talking about
We're not going to go on.
And
I think someone said earlier about having a 12 game. We didn't go on a 12-game winning streak. Like, we don't need to go on a 12-game winning streak. All we need to do is continue.
How many teams in the league, guys, have gone on a 5-game winning streak?
I think it's Man City.
1.
Yeah, it's Man City. And like,
so if you're gonna come out with those things, like, you've got to have some context. And again, I sympathize with the frustration, but if you're going to assume what is needed to win top 4, it's a very different conversation, and we just got to be honest about that. And if you guys think that maybe with Granit Xhaka back, and with Thomas Partey back, and if we had enough sample where we weren't getting results with our first choice back there, I'd probably give more credence to those fears. But the fact that you're kind of selectively placing the games that we've done poor in, where in fact, Nottingham Forest, our second team played. Burnley, we had 0 midfield. I think we should have done better in both of those games individually, sure. But, they weren't our starting team. So for me, when you look at stuff, you can't then project that to be the norm for the rest of the season when you're missing so many people from the first team. What about you guys, Z, mate? Like, what do you make of this? Because I feel like you've got in your... Oh, yeah, go ahead, Kern. Sorry, you terminated.
Did I terminate it? I'm on wide. Anyway, the whole thing with what I'm going to say is if you look at our one is the remaining fixtures, 2 is other rival teams' fixtures in terms of what they have to come. You've got one portion.
Sorry, 1 second, Kern. Sorry, 1 second. Look, mate, Spring, I really respect your opinion here, because everyone gets their own. But, if you're going to compare one game, it's a very short-sighted kind of comparison. How did United fare with a loss against Young Boys and how they competed in the Champions League? Like, that isn't comparable here. You're not really making too much sense. And again, if you're going to get into the top 4, this is about progression of the project. Getting Champions League is not about competing in the Champions League. Getting there is about getting the quality of players we need to take that next step.
Look, and I was trying to say, look, I'll answer a question, because he did ask the question, so I'll answer. We do answer questions. Are we honestly good enough to compete against the world's best? No, but we don't need to right now. We need to make sure that we get in the top 4 so we can build a squad.
That's not the conversation, is it?
Like Mikel even said it. Mikel said it. To compete with the world's best, you need a squad of 22 players that can all perform to a level where you can sub either person in, and it's not going to be a massive drop off. And we don't have that right now.
I think your question here bodes more for summer 2023. I'm
Correct.
with you, and I'm with you about the team competing at that point. This summer, we just complete the starting 11. That's how I view it. Summer 2023 is depth. Then you can start to compare about big title challenges. I don't see us, really doing that next year. If we're able to get in the Champions League, maybe these things quicken. But that's never been the case for us. And again, I don't expect fans to probably change after 1 or 2 games. You know what I mean? Like, if you were part of that Twitter,
even half a season, I don't expect it to change until we're competing for major honors. And
I will say we got more points than Liverpool in 2021. It's no longer just a 8 or 6 game.
No, but that doesn't matter to people, though. I know
there is logic.
There is logic behind it, but that doesn't really. because the thing is, people think we're moving the goalpost. Well, actually, we're just looking at a large sample size of about a season long and saying, look, we competed with the likes of a Liverpool, even without their injuries, but even with the injuries. Sorry. The point I was going to make is that we're looking to capitalize on results. Like if you look at United at the beginning of the year, right? Everyone down at the dumps. They have 2 wins against, I think, what was it, West Ham and Brentford, and suddenly everything's rosy again. They're going to play Atletico Madrid, Liverpool, Atletico Madrid, and watch their fan base melt down again. Like these, just keep going from one. This is going to happen throughout the season. So my suggestion would be is everyone just take a breath. Relax and see where we are at the end of the season. Like I was saying at the beginning of the season, let's see where we are in December. We're in January now. We're almost out of January. Let's see what we do in the window and let's see how we go.
Again, and I think that's a really good transition. And I do want to get Z's chance to maybe wade in on this because I'm sure he's been in the wars about this. So I definitely want to get his opinion. But I think that's a good transition about what do we need to end the window. And, guys, we'll definitely have one of those transfer spaces for you guys as well about what's going to happen and what we need to get, top 4. But Z, mate, like, what do you make of this like top 4 debate? Because it seems to happen every game.
No, look, my stance still remains the same. I feel like we will definitely get top 4, especially if we keep the same consistency that we've had throughout the season, and not just in January. Because I feel like some people just like to pick and choose what they want to analyze, really, and this is what we're not going to do. We don't do it here. We're going to be looking at the overall context, and I feel like we will definitely get top 4, especially when we bring the players in. To at least help us in terms of depth and just to add a bit more quality, because I feel like after the first 11 we already know like we kind of suffer because of the gap in difference, especially in terms of quality. So once that happens, I feel like we'll definitely end up in the top 4. I'm not really like worried at all, man, honestly.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's kind of when you get to the point, people aren't going to change their minds. So let's kind of like park it. We're happy to maybe do those discussions if people really want, but I don't think we're about that on this channel. We've kind of said it from the start. We all basically said before a ball was kicked, Arsenal we're going to be in the top 4. So if there's anybody questioning, do you guys still believe that? Yes, we believed it at the beginning of the season. We believed it in the roughest patch. I think a Burnley draw doesn't change it.
The metric I use is that we came on here after Man City pumped us and said we were going to finish in the top 4. Forget the beginning of the season. We said it after City, and we didn't waver on that. So that's the metric I always say to people when I'm asked. And I do want to move into January because I do want to just a couple of minutes on January, and
because news has been breaking about Vlahovic. It's been going nuts.
Can I quickly just give my take on this Vlahovic thing?
Yeah, go for it. And then I want to get Z's opinion.
Yeah, get Z's on it, but I want
to go crazy.
Give my take on this. Look, it's quite clear that Vlahovic is the number 1 target. It's been the target for the entire month. I get the Isak news has dropped and Ornstein has released it. But notice, if you read Ornstein's article, he never mentions once about contact with the club or contact with the agent. He says Arsenal are interested in pursuing it. Why? Because it will shake the Vlahovic's agent, basically. They want to basically say that, look, like Vlahovic agent released about Juve's interest, we're doing the same thing with Isak, and it's a case of it's going to be a stalemate, and we're basically one side is going to blink and will basically just cave to the offer, because I think both sides have resigned to the fact that I think the player is joining Arsenal. I'm curious. I do want to see. What your thoughts about him if he did contract COVID? Because I'm pretty sure if he's asymptomatic, I don't think there's any issues.
No, it's not a question at all. Let's just kill that because it's 5 days.
It's 5 days, which is what I said, and we've got 7 days left. So if
it doesn't happen, it's not going to happen from agents or from another party. It's not going to be because of COVID.
It's not going to be because of COVID. Because the thing is, that was exactly my thought. But I thought that I would get your thoughts as well. But
Z mate.
Yeah.
What are you
do
saying
think,
with
Zee? What
all
do you
this?
think about this?
My stance hasn't changed. So I was actually on EGTV the other day, and they were asking me
Mhm.
my opinion about Vlahovic, and I said, look, I feel like it's a good 70% that we probably do get him, and it's purely because the 70% that's there, that's me being positive, is because we've done everything we need to do with Fiorentina. Contracts there, everything's okay. It's just the fact that his agent needs to now start responding, and I feel like he's playing a bit of a game where he's trying to see any other clubs like Bayern Munich, Spurs, Juventus, they're trying to offer him, if they're offering him a better deal. And I feel like in the end, if he doesn't get that better deal, I think Fiorentina will force him out because they do not want to lose money, especially on a player that has a £63 million release clause next window. So it's they're in a bit of a tricky situation. And as per the news that came out from David Ornstein, I feel like there's always some stuff where he says some things and which are his opinion, and we take it as kind of facts. So something in the morning where he said we're interested in Isaac, specifically in some conversation, and this is like a BoP exclusive. He told someone he doesn't know anything specifically on talks with Isaac, especially with the reps, but he feels like we're going to be considering any player because with a week to go, we've been looking for a striker, and he said never say never on Vlahovic. So that's from David Ornstein himself. So I feel like he's just added that for his clicks, retweets, whatever. Nothing has changed, and the scenario still remains the same. That's why I just stay positive. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, we know why it didn't happen. That's
Well,
it.
and I mean, mate, what's happened in the last hour or so? Look, I've been pretty clear on whether I think it happens or not, and I think that we cave. I don't think it's good, by the way. I don't think that deal us
I don't
caving
think
is a good
I
thing.
don't think especially if that 20% thing is true. I don't think it is, but if it is
No,
true,
I
then
don't think
no,
that's true. That's just him wanting more
wow.
money. But what has happened in the last hour was, of course, Palmieri, a bunch of Italian journalists. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but
I've been looking at it now.
there's quotes from the CEO saying that we've accepted offers in January from important Premier League clubs. I'll let you guys imagine who that is. Okay. But we haven't heard an answer from Dusan. So absolutely what we're basically at right now is the player, like what Z made, like what you've been saying the whole time, is we haven't heard the ultimatum choice. They haven't said no, they haven't said yes, and the silence is basically just people trying to fill in the blanks about will it happen or will it not. But money isn't an issue at the end of the day. Like, they've accepted the offer, and I think Fiorentina, from their perspective, they want him gone because this is the most money that they're going to get, right? They're not going to get more money in June or July with this. And you know what I find very weird, Z mate? Like, I don't know if you can shed some light on this, but FIFA were coming out with agent restrictions next season. Like, will the agent not get the most money now than he would in June or July?
Yeah. See, that's another thing. I feel like obviously he's trying to kind of pinch every single money possible that he can possibly get, and this is where I feel like he's trying to also trying to take some money from Fiorentina.
Mhm.
So it's a poker game that I feel like we don't have much to spend time on. Really, 6 days left. We'll see where we go.
And I think that's partly part of the desperation of, like, even mentioning Isaac about those release clauses, because that's crazy. That release clause is more than the Vlahovic deal.
I just will say, I saw all day I was seeing, Edu is a release clause merchant, which he is. Let's be real. But like all day I was seeing, and I'm just like, guys, it's quite obvious. Because the thing is, over the weekend we all saw it. There was talks of, he's going to Juventus. Juventus are going to make an offer. Blah 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 blah. And we've countered with, okay, cool, we'll go for Isak. And I think both sides, I'm going to reiterate it, both sides are sort of trying to make the other blink and cave to their demands. And
I unfortunately think we do cave, guys. I'm not
I
gonna
do think
lie.
we cave as well. But
And
my
like,
thing is,
and
I don't
if
know
it's not
the degree
specifically
of caving.
Vlahovic, we cave to like an Isaac or something crazy. And I've never expected Arsenal to act this way. I think in our transfer spaces, we'll definitely talk a little bit more about what this means, because it's a very big change in policy. And Z made, like, I don't know if you agree or not, but like, telling the world we have this much money and are so bullish to do so. And if it's not Vlahovic to then get Isaac, I don't look at that as people rejecting. I'm like, where in the hell is this Abramovich kind of energy? Like, this is Chelsea light, where you're essentially like, if we don't get our man, cool, we'll still spunk 80 mil on the next guy that we could totally have in. Like, I've not seen that ruthlessness from Arsenal. It's been almost like, if you can't get Madison, we'll get Odegaard, which is a very different convo, by the way, which is like 70 to 30. It's not, oh, if we can't get the 170, we're going to get the other alternative 70 mil striker. Like, I think it says a lot about how we're going to move in the future. Like, what do you think, Z?
Yeah, no, I think it's just Arsenal just trying to recover all the damaged reputation that they've kind of suffered throughout
Yeah.
the many years, just under Wenger and the Dick Laws and all Ivan Gazidis. They've done enough, and I feel like even when Raul came in, I think he tried to kind of repair that kind of damage, which he did good in some ways. But again, when you have big money, all the big agents come to you. Sometimes they can even sort you out, in a good deal. So I feel like, this is where we kind of have to show our, just make the right decisions, because look, it's all well and good that having money, but if you don't make the right footballing decisions, you are in a big problem as well, right? So we'll see.
We will see.
Yeah, mate, we will see. And like I think like the Arthur Mello deal happens for sure. I've been really confident on that coming in. I think it's too late to really have a factor, but
yeah.
but at the end of the day, games like Burnley show you that it's nice to have a third option, that we don't have to rely on Makunga or Odegaard to get deep in the pivot. You know what I mean? Like
the third option. It's about having an option that is a backup in that left centre mid role.
Do you know what I look at as it is current? It guarantees our starting players and their starting positions. That's how I look at this signing. Not that does it improve us in midfield. It's kind of like how Tavares, that signing guaranteed Tierney playing more games at left back, right? And don't worry, guys, we'll have an Edu conversation. I wanted to give him basically the summer. We'll probably discuss him at length in other podcasts.
He's not made me gasp with this window. So let's just look at it and let's see what he does with this window. I mean, my whole thing on this Arthur deal is, look, I've always said, and I think George has always said, is that we think that Lokonga is more suited to playing up the pitch. I feel like when there was comments when he came, and I also believed them, about how he feels like he's a 6. But on the pitch, I don't think I can trust him as in a single pivot or as a deeper man in a double pivot. He's more the advanced 8. And if you have an Arthur Mello, he's not going to be a defensive second ball monster like Granit Xhaka is. What he does give you is a different profile in that left centre mid role that plays a bit deeper, more of a traditional deep lying playmaker, someone who will keep the ball ticking over and making and keeping the tempo high, which is what we lacked on against Burnley. I just think that you have backups in both positions, which means that you actually don't sacrifice the same degree. I think you do sacrifice a little bit, but not the same degree of quality that you would go from a let's say a Xhaka to an Ødegaard. I know that the roles are different because of the way we set up the pivot, but the problem is that you are playing someone that you want ahead of the ball, behind the ball, and the options that he is. I mean, he has played well. He's played admirably, but I don't feel like you have the same options as you would an Arthur, because he's more adept to progressing the ball up the pitch, keeping the tempo high, and making sure that your attacks are running well. So it means that you're actually looking to secure your pivot for two spots, both on the left and the right. So that's the main thing for me. And if it does go through, I'm very happy, because I think we do need reinforcements in midfield. I don't think he's the one, but I just hope that
gives us a different profile. He gives us a different
obligation, and it's an option. If it's an option, we can reject the option.
It's not obligation. I mean, Z-mate, like, I mean, this is a profile that you'd like, like, do you think it would be an obligation? I don't see it.
I don't think so. I think the kind of thing is they don't want to financially kind of commit to the deal, and I don't think they wanted it to be a longer deal, like more than 6 months, purely because there's probably better options out there in the summer. But fact is, if it's 18 months with a minimal loan fee and also with the chance to pay if they like the player, then look, that's a good deal in itself, because it adds a extra body, because we're losing El Neni.
It's non-committal as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like someone like Mello would add an increase in quality, when we're comparing to El Neni. Although I looked at him quite closely as well recently as well. he still won't be the progression monster that we kind of still need in the team. So we will suffer.
I see him as a Granit Xhaka replacement, or not Granit Xhaka, sorry, a Thomas Partey replacement deeper. If he was to, come in, I don't think he's going to be a second ball guy. He's not able to compete in
he's not
duels
a
like
second
that.
ball
That's
guy. No.
that's not somebody that you're getting. I've said that he's Thiago light, very light in terms of the quality, but like that's the profile that you're essentially getting. This very competent dribbler that is probably loose, delays his pass a bit, but is very good with his passing range, and is very good at keeping the ball if he releases, which can be a trouble, but he is very good at that. So I think you get an option. And again, like Z said, I think it was all about it being an option, not obligation. I think this delay was Arsenal will compromise on a larger loan time, but for a cheaper option to buy. Does that make sense? Like I don't think we ever wanted an obligation, but we'll compromise on giving you the time that you want, but you give us a better fee.
The thing is, he's one of the deals that's basically part of the money laundering scheme, really.
Yeah.
With
Pjanic, right?
ridiculous games.
Yeah, exactly. So they just want to make as much money as possible. Have we spoken about the goalkeeper, by the way? I don't know, in the previous podcast.
Just gonna go on to Matt Turner because I don't think a lot of people know about him.
He's not really a page turner though. He seems that he's someone.
So essentially, what he is, we're cutting that shit off right there. Okay. Matt Turner is, look, he's a good goalkeeper, but he absolutely doesn't have the football at his feet. He's a souped up burnt. I know what he is somebody that's an excellent shot stopper, a phenomenal penalties. Like his percentage is almost one of the best in Europe. Like he's phenomenal in penalties. He's not huge. He's 6'3", like he's big, in that sense, but he's lanky, but he still has a huge presence in the box. And so for me, he's in that more traditional goalkeeper mold, very much like Burnt. But imagine Burnt who can claim crosses and have more presence in the box. That's what you're getting. In terms of the ball at your feet, 100% you're getting a Burnt level. And, you're not getting very good distribution at all. But again, I don't think I mind this because it's a £5 million deal that we're going to make a profit on a Burnt sale. That's also US kind of first choice, right? And you basically get the opposite end of the goalkeeping profile. And a lot of our youngsters are the Ramsdale youth. You know what I mean? Like Ejiri, Okonkwo, these are ball playing center back or goalkeepers. Sorry, like we don't lack that. So for me, you basically get a really good experience, and you get a good age range between the two because he's 28 as well, guys.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
He's not. It's not like we're getting a very young keeper that if we put him in.
You see the thing with Leno with it for me is like obviously his kicking became a lot more exposed to all of us.
Oh,
fans.
Matt Ryan's days away from Matt Turner.
Yeah.
But sorry, go on, Z.
No, I was just saying. So obviously, his kicking was more exposed to the Arsenal fans once we started playing with the ball from the back a lot more. But the fact is, one thing that was prevalent with Leno from day one was the fact that he wouldn't communicate. He wasn't good. He wouldn't claim crosses, and he just overall wasn't the complete keeper that we needed, apart from his kicking. But this is where I feel like I don't know if you can tell me, does what's his name again? Page turner, head turner. Does he have all of those qualities that Leno doesn't have?
Yeah, no, he does, and he's a very chatty keeper. Like he excels in communication. Like he's always talking to his back line. Again, he claims crosses. He is a souped-up Leno for sure. He's bad in all the. He's better. Well, he's not bad in all the ways because it's just distribution. Really, that the similarities are the same in terms of claiming crosses. His presence, his communication, they're all immense. They're very, very good. And he's a very good shot stopper. He's an excellent shot stopper. So like he's similar in that sense, but he's not a very good ball distributor. One thing that he is pretty decent at though is he does release the ball quickly, which again we all highlighted in Ramsdale, and why I was very excited. He does do that. I don't expect really somebody that has his passing range anywhere near the same. But I think even Emi Martinez, I don't think he had unbelievable range. The big thing was him releasing quickly. And, Turner has that. He does have that. And he's a really good voice in the camp. Like he's very well known in the US camp for being like
a
one of
leader,
the-
vocal guy.
yeah, like a vocal guy, but also like a bubbly personality. Like he's a very big dressing room influence in
Okay.
kind of all of the teams. And he is the best keeper in MLS. He is by far. So for me, look, again, I've always said I prefer Sam Johnson, who's on a free, who's going to be similar levels, who for me has the distribution that Turner doesn't have. But again, I think that we've just got a really cheap deal that for me, it completes the goalkeeping profiles. So you've got basically a shot stopper / Peno phenom.
This is my thing.
And a ball
I feel like we've bought our cup keeper. I feel like Matt
we did.
Ryan is going to be that, the Willie Caballeros types, or
For
those kinds of types.
Well,
where
Stefan, that's what Man City did.
Literally,
they bought from
that was. Thank you. That's the goalkeeper I wanted. I just couldn't remember the top of my head. But Zach Stefan, like a Carlo Cudicini, or someone of that ilk, Jerzy Dudek. These kinds of names come to mind, where they're just very good shot stoppers, very good in a crunch situation, someone that you can depend on to come in and do a job. And look, we don't want to be one of those teams where you look at someone like Chelsea, where when Mendy goes down, they've got Kepa, and he's just not the same level. I don't think Turner will be the same level as Ramsdale, but he won't be such a drop off where it becomes noticeable. So this is the thing for me. I just feel like it takes the burden off of Ramsdale as well. I feel like it makes sure that we are settled, because I don't think Leno is. It's not that he's bad. It's just that he's just not at the standard that we need him to be. I think that his heyday at Arsenal was Unai Emery. I think he was bought for Unai Emery style, low block, high volume shots conceded. You need a shot stopper there, and he did very well with that. But at this moment in time, we need to evolve to the next level. And Matt Turner may represent what Leno produces, but the difference is that he is coming in knowing he's number 2, whereas Leno, he's got this attitude that he is the number 1.
Well, you're halving the wages, guys. Like, he's going to earn less than half of Bert Leno's $90K a week. In addition to this, right? So like it's absolutely life changing for Turner. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think it weakens us and improves us, because for me, he is a better Bert Leno. And
I'm not surprised, and I feel like it's just us dipping into the American market as well,
which I'm sure Josh has wanted to do for a while.
Exactly. So it's an interesting move.
Yeah, no, it is very interesting. But yeah, look, lads, I think we won't go too much longer. We'll kind of round it out. Maybe the last little 2 minutes. If you guys have some dying questions, we'll definitely answer. In terms of Raul, do I think that we'll try to sign Isaac by sending Oba the other way? No, I think that if we do sign Isaac, we're just signing Isaac, and we want Oba to leave regardless. I don't think we would use it in terms of swaps and things like that. Those are actually very rare in terms of transfers. But I do think we separately want Oba to leave, and I do think we want a striker, whether that's Vlahovic or Isaac or whatever you want. Insert who you want.
I think someone will come in, though. I'm pretty sure we get a signing.
We've cleared too many wages.
Exactly. That's the point I was going to make about,
for me,
with the Kolasinac termination, Murray, Ainsley. There's just too much room in the squad. But
yeah,
I want to.
Should I do my robot?
Yeah,
thing?
literally, I'm literally going to say, go do it. Go for it, man.
Awesome. So, look, guys, make sure you like, comment, you subscribe. Make sure that you hit the bell for notifications. Big up. Thank you so much for a lot of the engagement. The comments have been amazing. And, look, I know it's tough after a really tough game with Burnley. Hope we gave you guys some good therapy, some good food for thought for things later. And we've got basically a 3-week break, but we will have content for you. BoP won't sleep. We're not taking an international break. We will come back with some videos for you. Look forward for some of those transfer stuff. Again, put some, comments in terms of things for us to improve. We always love constructive criticism here. And thank you so much for the subs. Those have been going up slowly. We're getting closer to that 1K. You're getting closer to that.
Away now.
Yeah, mate. Like, you're getting closer. All of you guys in the comments, you're getting closer to that member content that you guys really want, whether that's, us drinking on stream, or whether that's us just giving you some more tactical stuff, some player profiles, some special things in our mind. We've got exciting things to do. We've also got some updates to our overlay, a lot of exciting stuff. But anyways, lads, enough thank yous. You can find us at BOP Footy on Twitter. You can find me at GeorgeV_AFC. Z, mate, where can they find you?
@Arsenal_Z. And
There we go. And current mate, where can they find you?
You can find me at current BoP, and don't forget to try and if you want, go follow at the One Willow and at PLCKK on Twitter. Everyone's in the description. We're gonna be back for whenever transfers drop. We're gonna be back for if something happens, major happens, maybe we get another set of postponements. Who knows?
We've got a top
Let's
10 midfield that's coming soon, actually.
yeah, something we've got other content lined up. I'm literally planning things about that to do with the member content. I've got a couple of ideas that I'm running past Jordan, CK, and Z. We're talking. We're also going to be doing stuff with. We're going to be doing another space soon. So maybe a tactics one that someone's just said. Thank you, Daniel. We'll think about that. Transfer one will be in the works. We'll definitely do a transfer review in terms of what happened this window. We all want to talk about Newcastle, I'm sure. So, yeah, that's it for me. I think we're good here. Good night, people, and have a good evening. And we will see you soon. Bye bye.